You think women want the loudest man in the room, but they don't. They want the calmest man in the room because his calm proves he's not trying to borrow value from attention. Right now, you're probably doing what most men do when they feel uncertain. You talk more, you explain more, you chase more, you perform more. You think if you say the perfect thing, if you text at the perfect time, if you show enough interest, she'll finally relax and choose you. But the truth is the opposite. The more you try to convince her, the more you confirm you're not convinced of yourself. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying this because comfort has been lying to you. Comfort tells you to smooth it over, overthink it, negotiate your dignity in exchange for a chance. Truth tells you to stand still, stand tall, and let your presence do the talking. If you need reminders like this, if you need someone to say what you already know but keep avoiding, subscribe. Not because I need a number, because you need a constant dose of reality in a world that keeps feeding you fantasy, and you will drift back into weak habits without a voice that pulls you back to the standard. Here's the thesis, plain and clean. Masculine calm isn't being quiet. It isn't acting uninterested. It isn't pretending you don't care. Masculine calm is internal order. It's self-respect under pressure. It's emotional control without emotional suppression. It's the ability to feel everything and still choose your behavior. And that, right there, is what drives women crazy. Not crazy like games. Crazy like gravity. Crazy like safety. Crazy like, I can't stop thinking about this man because he doesn't need my approval to breathe. Now let me walk you up the ladder because you don't change by hearing a quote. You change when the logic hits you in the chest. The misconception is that attraction comes from effort, from proving, from chasing, from performing, from being available 24/7, from showing you care. So you do more. You send longer texts. You explain your intentions. You justify your actions. You rush to fix any tension. You try to be understood. But the hard truth is this: attraction doesn't come from effort. It comes from power, not power over her, power over yourself. And when you can't regulate yourself, when you can't sit in uncertainty without scrambling, you leak neediness. You leak anxiety. You leak, please pick me. And she feels it. She feels it even if you never say it. She feels it in your timing, your tone, your consistency, your little bursts of intensity, and then your collapse into doubt. Why does it happen? Root cause: you don't trust your own value, so you try to manufacture value with behavior. That's called external validation. That's called approval addiction. That's called being a hostage to reaction. You start living inside her responses. If she texts fast, you're up. If she goes quiet, you're down. If she likes your story, you're confident. If she doesn't, you spiral. And now you're not a man with a life. You're a man with a monitor, watching, refreshing, interpreting, guessing, trying to decode what doesn't need decoding. And let me tell you what it costs. It costs your peace. It costs your self-respect. It costs your purpose. It costs your masculinity. Because masculinity is not a vibe. Masculinity is a discipline. It's a standard you hold when nobody is clapping. And when you become reactive, you become soft, not in emotion, but in structure. You become bendable. And the world doesn't respect bendable men. Women don't respect bendable men. And deep down, you don't respect bendable you. So here's the reframe. The goal isn't to get her to like you. The goal is to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be liked to be steady. The kind of man who doesn't negotiate his identity for attention. The kind of man who can offer connection without begging for it. Because when you're calm, you're not chasing the moment. You're anchored in yourself. Let's get specific, because vague motivation is useless. What women call confidence is often just this: predictability under pressure. Not predictability like boring, predictability like grounded, like stable, like this man doesn't turn into a different person when he wants something. Most men are only calm when things go their way. The second a woman pulls back, the second plans change. The second she doesn't reassure them, they shift, they overcorrect, they chase, they interrogate, they start posting thirst traps, they start accidentally texting, they start trying to regain control by creating noise. And noise is the opposite of power. Presence is power. Silence is power. Restraint is power. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're not trying to dominate the situation with your anxiety. Masculine calm is when you can say, I like her, without saying, I need her. It's when you can feel desire without becoming desperate. It's when you can want the relationship but still be willing to lose it. That's called sovereignty. That's called self-respect. That's called being a man who belongs to himself. And this is why calm drives women crazy, because calm is rare, calm is expensive, calm is earned. Calm signals you've been through pressure and you didn't fall apart. It signals you're not pretending. It signals you have options, not necessarily other women, but options in life. Options in identity, options in meaning. You're not clinging to her as your only source of warmth. You want to know the truth women rarely say out loud? A woman is not attracted to your words about your strength. She is attracted to your behavior when your strength is tested. When she's late, do you collapse into passive-aggressive jokes, or do you stay composed and address it like a man? When she cancels, do you guilt trip, or do you say, all good, we'll reschedule, and then you actually let it be all good? When she's emotional, do you get spooked and try to fix her feelings, or do you hold space with calm boundaries? When she challenges you, do you argue like a boy trying to win, or do you respond like a man who's already won his own respect? Because here's the difference between presence and performance. Performance says, look at me. Presence says, I'm here. Performance begs for reaction. Presence creates impact. Performance is loud. Presence is heavy. And women feel heavy. They feel it in a man's eye contact that doesn't flinch. They feel it in his voice that doesn't rush. They feel it in his body language that doesn't ask permission. They feel it in the way he can sit in silence without trying to fill it with entertainment. You know what most men do when there's a pause in conversation? They panic. They start talking faster. They start joking. They start explaining. They start auditioning. But the calm man, he doesn't audition. He decides. He doesn't chase chemistry. He creates it by being fully there. He listens like he's not trying to mine her for approval. He responds like he's not afraid of the wrong answer. He can tease without cruelty. He can disagree without hostility. He can lead without controlling. Now let's paint the archetype. Let's describe the man, because you need an image to aim at. He walks slower, not because he's trying to look cool, because he's not internally sprinting. His mind isn't running laps for validation. He has a schedule. He has training. He has responsibilities. He has standards. He doesn't answer every message immediately, not to create mystery, but because his phone doesn't own him. His life owns his phone. He doesn't apologize for being busy, and he doesn't flex being busy either. He just is. He's warm, but not porous. That's the key. Warm, not porous. Porous men leak energy. They let anything in. They accept disrespect because they're afraid of loss. They overgive because they're trying to secure a spot. They become nice as a strategy. The calm man is kind, but his kindness has a spine. He gives because he chooses to, not because he's buying peace. He compliments without pedestal. He touches without grabbing. He leads without pleading. He doesn't ask, do you like me? He asks, do you fit? He doesn't chase closure. He creates clarity. He doesn't get pulled into emotional chaos. He becomes the structure that emotional chaos calms down inside of. And before you twist this into some cold, disconnected persona, listen carefully. Calm men are not numb. They're not detached. They're not avoidant. They feel deeply. They just refuse to outsource their stability. That's called emotional mastery. That's called masculine containment, not suppression. Containment, the ability to hold intensity without spilling it everywhere like a child. Now, why does that drive a woman crazy in the best way? Because it gives her two things at once: polarity and safety. Polarity means you're different from her emotional currents. You're not matching her fluctuations. You're not mirroring her anxiety. You're not competing with her feelings. You're the opposite pole. You're grounded when she's swirling. That creates attraction because it creates contrast. Safety means she can trust you won't become dangerous when you're uncomfortable. You won't lash out. You won't manipulate. You won't guilt trip. You won't punish her with silence. You won't turn love into a bargaining chip. Your nervous system is not a weapon. It's an anchor. And here comes the part your ego won't like. You cannot fake this. You can mimic silence, but you can't mimic stability. You can act unbothered, but your eyes will still beg. You can wait 3 hours to text back, but your mind will still be on fire. Women don't respond to the strategy. They respond to the state. So the question isn't, what should I do? The question is, who are you when nothing is guaranteed? because that's where calm comes from. Competence, inner competence, life competence, self-competence. If you don't have purpose, you will use women as purpose. If you don't have direction, you will use romance as direction. If you don't have standards, you will use her mood as your standard. If you don't have self-respect, you will use her attention as self-respect. And that's the trap. That's the quicksand. That's where men sink and then call it love. Now we get actionable. Not theory, not vibes, steps. First, stop negotiating your dignity for access. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't respect you. Stop chasing after mixed signals. Stop romanticizing inconsistency. Stop calling anxiety passion. Stop calling instability chemistry. You want to become calm? You stop rewarding chaos. If she's inconsistent, you don't become more consistent to balance it out. You become more selective. You don't try harder. You choose better. That's called standards. Second, slow down your nervous system on command. Yes, on command. Because if you can't control your body, you can't control your life. When you feel that urge to double text, to check her last scene, to reread the conversation, to craft the perfect message, pause. Take one deep breath through your nose. Let your exhale be longer than your inhale. Feel your chest drop. Feel your shoulders release. And then ask yourself one brutal question. Is what I'm about to do coming from self-respect or fear? If it's fear, you don't send it. You don't do it. You don't move from fear. That's called discipline. Third, practice clean communication. Calm men are direct. They don't hint. They don't sulk. They don't test. They don't send little jokes that are actually accusations. If you want to see her, you say, I want to see you. Let's do Thursday. If she can't, you say, cool. When are you free? If she dodges twice, you don't argue. You don't chase. You withdraw your attention and keep your dignity, not to punish, to protect. That's called boundaries. Fourth, stop trying to be understood by everyone. A calm man doesn't need universal approval. He needs alignment. He knows the difference between being liked and being respected, and he chooses respect even when it costs him comfort. So when you say something and she disagrees, you don't fold instantly. You don't backpedal. You don't become a politician. You hold your position with calm and you listen with strength. You can say, I hear you, without saying, you're right. That's called groundedness. Fifth, build a life that makes you harder to manipulate, even by your own loneliness. Train your body, not for aesthetics alone, but because physical training teaches your nervous system to tolerate discomfort. It teaches you that you can breathe under load, you can stay relaxed under pressure, you can keep form when it burns, and that carries into dating, into conflict, into leadership. Build your money, build your skills, build your friendships, build your mission. Not because women are prizes, but because you are a man. And a man without a mission becomes a man with 1,000 distractions. That's called purpose. Now let's talk about the moment that exposes you. When she pulls back, because she will. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes because life happens, sometimes because she's testing, sometimes because she's unsure. Either way, it's a moment of truth. Most men panic when she pulls back. They interpret it as rejection. They interpret it as danger. They interpret it as, I'm not enough. And then they try to close the distance by force. But the calm man, he doesn't chase distance. He holds his position. He doesn't collapse into stories. He doesn't assume. He observes. He keeps moving in his life. He stays open, but he doesn't beg. He can say, you seem a bit off. Everything good? Once, cleanly, and if she says, I'm fine, and continues acting cold, he doesn't interrogate, he doesn't plead, he doesn't spin. He simply matches reality. Reality, not fantasy. Reality, not hope. That's another definition you need. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not leadership. Hope is what you do when you refuse to make a decision. The calm man is not cruel. He's not cold. He just refuses to live in ambiguity longer than necessary. And here's the part that will change your whole identity if you let it. Calm is self-trust made visible. A man who trusts himself doesn't need to rush. He doesn't need to force. He doesn't need to convince. He doesn't need to win every moment. He can let a woman feel her feelings without making it about him. He can let space exist without filling it with performance. He can let tension sit without immediately fixing it. He can let her wonder without becoming anxious. And yes, that wondering drives women crazy because uncertainty is only attractive when it's held by certainty. When you are certain in yourself, her uncertainty becomes curiosity. When you are uncertain, her uncertainty becomes discomfort. Let me say that again because you missed it the first time. Uncertainty is only attractive when it's held by certainty. So, what do you do when you feel yourself becoming reactive? You redirect. You redirect your attention from her to your mission. You redirect your energy from proving to building. You redirect your mind from imagining outcomes to controlling inputs. You redirect your body from tension to breath. You redirect your identity from chosen man to choosing man. Because the goal isn't to be picked. The goal is to be a man who picks with integrity. Now, a warning, because some of you are going to take this and turn it into a mask. If you use calm as a cover for arrogance, it will backfire. If you use calm as a weapon, it will rot you. If you use calm as avoidance, refusing to have hard conversations, refusing to be emotionally available, then you're not calm. You're scared. Real calm can handle confrontation. Real calm can say, this doesn't work for me. Real calm can walk away without slamming doors. Real calm can commit without losing himself. Real calm can love without becoming needy. That's the man women can't forget. Because he's not trying to take from her. He's offering from wholeness. And that offering is rare. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but what if I lose her? Good. Let that question hit you. Because the man you're becoming is not built by keeping every woman. He's built by keeping his standards. He's built by losing what doesn't align and not calling it tragedy. He's built by choosing truth over comfort. You don't need more tricks. You don't need more lines. You don't need more signals. You need a nervous system that doesn't beg. You need a spine that doesn't bend for attention. You need a life that doesn't shrink around a woman. You need self-respect that doesn't depend on her mood. You stop chasing her approval. You stop chasing her certainty. You stop chasing her validation. And something wild happens. You start attracting women who can actually meet you because you're no longer advertising yourself as a man who will accept crumbs. And the best part? This isn't just about women. This is about you reclaiming yourself because the truth is you're tired. You're tired of the overthinking. You're tired of the emotional roller coaster. You're tired of feeling powerful one day and pathetic the next. You're tired of building your confidence on someone else's attention. That ends when you decide to be the source. Masculine calm is not a personality. It's a practice. It's doing the hard thing first. It's keeping your word. It's walking away from disrespect. It's staying present when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing delayed gratification. It's being the man you promised you'd be, even when nobody is watching. So here's your identity reset, and I want you to take it personally. You are not here to be tolerated. You are not here to audition for love. You are not here to beg for clarity. You are not here to negotiate your worth. You are the answer. You are the standard. You are the calm. And when you become that, you don't get women by force. You become a man women willingly lean toward because your energy feels like truth, like direction, like home. If this hit you in the gut, subscribe because you're building a new baseline, and baselines take repetition. I'll keep giving you truth, clarity, and the kind of discipline that turns you into the man you respect. You're not alone in this. You're part of a brotherhood of men choosing self-respect over noise, presence over performance, reality over fantasy.